Then we move on to 3 presenters from the project Virtual Interiors as Interfaces for Big Historical Data. Must be the project with the longest title ever, which is led by Charles van den Heuvel at the Huygens Institute and University of Amsterdam, together with Gabri van Tussenbroek at UvA and the Municipality of Amsterdam, and myself from the NWO Smart Culture Big Data grants. And presenting first will be Weixuan Li, who's the PhD on the project, and she will speak about her use of 3D models for her research on the production of culture in the early modern Amsterdam.
Thank you, Julia, for the introduction. Let me share my screen. Yeah, can you see it well?
Yes, perfectly clear. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. So as the first presenter of our project, maybe it's good to give all of you an overview of what our project is about. So our virtual interior project aims at creating the experience of Golden Age Amsterdam and take a step inside, not from the street, but actually look inside the houses, trying to make people be able to experience and see the interior of the Amsterdam houses. And to do so, we try to take advantage of the semantic web of historical knowledge and translate them into these multi-dimensional representations. And my research lies in the 2D mapping segment of the project, with the focus on the painters and art dealers in Amsterdam. And you will see in the following 2 presentations the other pillars of research that you can actually bring you into the wall. But for my research, I need to take a step back, not from creating a realistic representation of 3D models, but actually using 3D models as an abstract way and as a guidance to organize and lead the archival resources. So for me, 3D models is on top of the deep mapping approach, not only to read maps to put dots on the location, but also to introduce a spatial reading of historical materials with the help of 3D models, and which can be a powerful addition to the deep mapping approach that I'm proposing here. For example, in this painting here, the deep mapping will point out the auspicious choice of this painter's shop, like close to a school or near a public square, and probably on the main street leading to the church. But deep mapping can and ought to go even deeper and looking inside the houses of art dealers and artists. And to do so, my point of departure is the real estate, the estate inventories of artists and art dealers, which I will call it a deeper mapping. So therefore, our project team have been trying to build an inventory database of painters and dealers in Amsterdam, which includes about 50 extant inventories to our knowledge, and mostly mentioned or already published in the Bredes Kunsteninventarie. And in building this database, we paid special attention to the room names and the structure of the houses, like I highlight here in this page. And our database is different from the other art-related inventory databases, like Getty or Montias database, and in a way that we focus not only on the works of art, but also the other furnitures and household goods and all the other items present in the house, whereas all the other art databases focusing on the paintings and artworks only. And with these rooms and the goods that are documented, our database allows me to explore the interior of painters' home and to understand how they conducted their business. And the traditional approach to use room names in the inventory is to take the rooms by their face value. In other words, the names that are mentioned by notaries, like what Montias did in his book, Public and Private Spaces, as I quoted in the table here. And however, the room names sometimes do not agree to the location of the room inside the houses. For example, in all these three drawings of 17th century, the floor plan shows the room behind the forehouse or the entrance hall is labeled under many different names. And it means that taking the rooms by the face value or the name can be rather misleading in understanding this interior location as well as the function of the room. And to avoid this possible mistake, the 3D spatial rating comes to our rescue. Therefore, I introduced the spatial rating of the interior of the homes of artists and art dealers, which reveals three main types of houses depending on the size. And by aligning the goods and the possible locations inside the houses, I analyzed the function of the interior space used as shops or workshops and the living spaces in order to understand how painter and dealers use their houses both professionally and personally. Although the house typology is a simplified version of all the existing variations under each type, and many variations such as adding the cellar like this one, or adding a second floor of the actor house, the back house, can hardly change the use of functional spaces. And the most significant changes in the actual use of space happens across three different major groups and when more significant space available. Like for example, the art dealers who live in a single floor house and this limited space only may allow them to operate their business from the forehouse, which is this entrance hall, as the main area for displaying their art, meaning that if you enter a single floor art dealer's shop, you may run into a room like the drawing shows here with paintings fill up the walls. However, once the art dealer occupied a larger house with more rooms, especially the upstairs rooms, the main shopping area seems to have been moved to upstairs. And the forehouse seemed to be reduced to a reception space. And in addition, and if a dealer has a workshop and employ a painter to sit in the galley for a day wage, and the workshop for art dealers is often located in the attic, then that is true for both art dealers working in the single-story home and the homes that have more than one stories. And this arrangement of our dealer's home is significantly deviate from the average Amsterdam homes that revealed in Montias database, which the upstairs rooms, like here, only have single digits of paintings present in the house. And here we can see this almost 300 and over 200 in the art dealer's home. It means that according from the content of the inventory, if you enter a art dealer's home with more than one stories, you might encounter a forehouse more similar to this with fancy decorations such as the cupboard or the porcelains on top. And when you go upstairs, and then you can see the actual shopping space with a lot of options available on display, and the workshop or the storage with stacks of paintings are actually stored in the attic. And this is the case for art dealers. And as for painters, the things have been changed slightly. First of all, the number of paintings present in their homes dropped significantly in comparison to dealers. And there were also more unfinished paintings, which marked in the dark green here, helped us to locate where the workshop is. And unlike what is showed in this print here, The painter's workshop is rarely located on the ground floor, which here we can see open to the ground, but that is not true in relation to the actual what inventory have showed. And the workshop usually located in the second floor, or in the first floor, and have no clear preference for the front or the back room of the home. And we can see from this drawing here, this is more realistically reflect the working space for painters, where through the windows we can see the ceilings of the, or the roof of the other house, meaning that it's definitely not on the first floor or open to the street.
I'm sorry, you're at the last minute.
Yeah, okay. So the sample size for painters is fortunately larger, which allows me to explore more typologies with variations, such as with a side room or with a saal or exhibition hall at the back. And the pattern that I just described persists, that the workshop is often located in the first floor and with no clear preference in the back or the front. And also, as we can see from here, that almost no painters are using their attic as their workspace in a serious way, unless it's just a few things for storage. Which means that, in other words, if you want to visit the painter studio or our dealer's shop, and the best way is actually go upstairs, is probably also means that the established painters or even the good dealers do not rely so much on the passerbys coming into their store by chance and taking one home, but rather serving the customers with serious interest who actually come in and climb the stairs. And for my research, it's still very much a work in progress, and more research will look into the subject matters or the attribution of paintings that present in the painter's home. But I hope here I have sufficiently illustrated how 3D visualizations can be used on an abstract level and help to turn the dry and abstract historical records into stories of the painting business in Amsterdam. And my colleague, Chiara Piccoli, will show you more realistically how the paintings were consumed with the actual 3D reconstructions of the house of a collector of paintings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Also, very, very neatly in your time keeping. So do we have any questions at this point? I haven't seen anything in chat yet, so please pose your questions. Maybe in the meantime, I can ask one of mine. I was wondering, your sort of the typology that you made, does it reflect any way back to contemporary typologies as well? Maybe you told, but maybe I missed it. But
so I think the source that I use are 17th century, at the latest 18th century drawings of Amsterdam houses, and also with the current archaeology research on the houses of 17th and 18th century. So I do not have a clear reference or connection to what the house looked like at the moment, or the modern typology of house.
Anyone? You're all stunned by this this amazing presentation, I presume.
Yeah, again, and don't hesitate to ask anything you like. So maybe I was a bit putting people off, but please post anything in the chat you want to know, and we can come back to it also after. Okay, thank you very much, Weixuan.